No, that's perfect. Thanks so much for that. I wanted to go into a few questions that we've actually gotten from communities. So specifically from some of the Bayview Hill residents, they want to sort of hear more about Candlestick Park access. Yes, there's a lot of illegal dumping, but there's also sort of recreational. What can we do about some things that are sort of going on out there, right? Like the campers, et cetera. Can you talk more about what you and your office have done in the past and presently to help sort of address some of those issues?
So we are currently meeting weekly with the folks on Bayview Hill and having conversations, one, about the vehicle triage center and just doing anything we can to mitigate any issues or concerns that come up uh, in regards to and directly related to the vehicle triage center. We also have consistent conversations with them, as well as other city departments, Office of Community Investment Infrastructure, Department of Public Works, Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, MTA and traffic enforcement, just to address traffic issues, parking, uh, things where folks may be living in vehicles. All those conversations are had with folks on the Hill, and we are in consistent contact with them. We just had well, let me not say we, 5 Points just had a community meeting to talk about the design at Candlestick to get feedback and input from community with the hopes of being able to break ground at some point next year, which is actually great news because a lot of development had got held up because it's the same development agreement as the shipyard. And unfortunately, when Tetra Tech falsified testing samples, it also affected Candlestick negatively. But we're in a space now where it looks like we're moving forward. But in terms of folks directly on Bayview Hill, we meet on a consistent basis with my office and also city departments to address their concerns.
That's great. Um, Here in the chat, so someone talked about the traffic situation on 3rd Street. Why can't the lights be set correctly? People either speed to get through the lights or just run to the red lights in intersections. Of course, along with the bicycles, it's been a mess for quite a long time.
And 3rd Street obviously is one of those streets where we have so many modes of transportation operating on one street, which I don't think was ever set up to be the purpose. We have provided alternative bike routes for folks who want to ride safely to get through Bayview and to get to other areas of the city. And we'll continue to work on that. We put protected bike lanes on Evans. We put protected bike lanes in a cargo area. We put protected bike lanes on other parts of the district. We have the trains going down 3rd, as you know, as well as people who are driving. And one of the things we try to do is provide some priority for the T line to make sure that it can be more efficient. And at the same time, we got to allow for pedestrians to be able to cross while folks are driving down 3rd and while the T line is moving down 3rd. So there are a lot of different modes of transportation that have been tried to be addressed. You will see some improvements with lights to try to speed up the T. And so Muni is working on some of those issues and concerns. But these are things that you have to find the right mix of what's going to work for all modes of transportation, particularly in the street down 3rd, and particularly because so many different modes of transportation are allowed. The traffic part though this is the first time I've really heard about it being a traffic issue going down 3rd Street, and so I would definitely follow up with MTA to see what other solutions exist. But this is the first time anyone's ever said to me there's a traffic problem down 3rd Street, particularly in D10.
Someone just said, Alicia Jones Gardner, there's a severe lack of disabled parking on 3rd Street.
Well, we definitely can work to address that. If you send an email to my office, we can get a assessment done and see what we can do to get more disabled parking on the street.
And that's Walton staff?
Walton staff at sfgov.org, and I'll put that in the chat.
I just did it for you.
Thank you.
No worries. I wanted to shift gears a little bit. Actually, one, just touch base on this whole sort of there's a Bayview shuttle through SFMTA that a number of us have been working on. I think we're stuck because they are trying to finalize a contract with a vendor, but the Bayview shuttle is meant to be free and or low cost. People with Muni can sort of use it, et cetera. There's also a transportation center in the Bayview. It's meant to be used within the Bayview so people can sort of get from point A to point B, either by using an app. You can call and sort of say where your pickup is. And I think the issue there is it's stuck in contract negotiations. So that might be another thing that can sort of help with some of the traffic like situation in District 10.
Well, definitely. I mean, the goal of the shuttle obviously is to try to provide more access to folks who need transportation that have been more isolated. And we have community working, to your point, with MTA to figure out what the best route is, the best way to unleash the shuttle into community. And so I'm excited about the opportunity that it could be. I mean, there is no other area in San Francisco that has a pilot shuttle like we do, with the opportunity to provide more access to transportation for community. So this is something that community is really taking a lead on, and we're going to have to obviously come up with something that works best for the masses. But this opportunity is something that we should all be excited about because it doesn't exist anywhere else. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this pilot program will do to address accessibility and transportation, efficiency and transportation, and really provide more options for folks who seem to be left out when it comes to transportation. So more to come on that. As you know, we're a little ways away before the shuttles will actually be up and running in the community, but this will be another opportunity to address some of our transportation inequities in the district and in Bayview in particular.
Perfect. And wanted to switch gears just a little bit away from transportation and actually talk more about sort of housing and rentals. And I know that there are a number of housing sort of developments going on in the Bayview, but also just throughout District 10. Can you talk more about sort of affordable housing? Because I know being on reparations, one of the big pushes that we had was simply you can't talk affordable without talking how much someone can make to actually be affordable, right? A lot of times people sort of put out this word, and we've seen this locally as well as throughout the nation. And they're not talking about the homeless families. They're not talking about the working class, right? Like, and so for San Francisco, can you help us sort of understand what affordable actually is? And then, we can sort of get into, some of the great projects that are going on. You mentioned Candlestick, there's Sunnydale. I mean, there's a lot of great things going on that I think people should know.
Well, affordable one is obviously always going to be very relative and real personal to families and the folks affected. I mean, we tend to look at ensuring that nobody has to pay more than 1/3 of their income on their rent. And that is, typically what has defined whether or not someone would be housing insecure per se. At the end of the day, what I've always focused on in the district is the maximum amount of affordability on every project. Most of the affordable housing projects we have in District 10, since I've been supervisor, with the exception of a couple, have been low AMI of 40% and up. Most are considered 80% and up to be affordable projects. But the projects that we have that were proposed, for instance, for Candlestick, were 40% AMI and above. The ones that we proposed for the shipyard, 40% and above, which really addresses the threshold for folks who are really very low income in existence. Even the power station, which is not in Bayview, but certainly off of 3rd Street. We have the first affordable housing building going up It's named after Supervisor Sophie Maxwell, and that's 80% AMI. So the majority of affordable housing being built in San Francisco right now is in District 10. The majority of it is the bottom ANI of 40. Obviously, we want to continue to get more affordable housing projects in the district. To your point, we are revitalizing 4 of our major housing projects: Potrero Hill, Sunnydale, Alice Griffith, and Huntersview. And those are projects that are really happening, and folks are moving over adjacent and able to stay on site. And so that's something that has been beneficial to the residents in those communities. But even with those, continues to be things that we need to do to ensure that there are no displacements, that folks are mistreated while the development is going on. When Candlestick is flushed out, we're going to see more affordable housing. The power station is looking to put another affordable housing building on. There are 2 all affordable housing buildings going up right now on the shipyard. So we're doing more than our share in San Francisco, addressing affordability, addressing affordable housing, and actually building housing. But I have a challenge all the time trying to get sometimes some of my colleagues to do the same in different communities in the city. And I just have to keep working and doing what I can over these next 2.5+ years to make sure the projects we have on the way are completed and most certainly at least groundbreaking.
What can community do to help that process? Because I know that it can be really complex. I think there's a lot of things that you literally need to do by sort of going door, you yourself, by going sort of door to door within housing and sort of other parts of government. But what can we do to sort of help this process, especially to safeguard or to help the people in the community who could most benefit from affordable housing?
Well, I think the main thing, one, is to hold us accountable when we say we're going to build in a certain area to make sure that it happens. Attend planning meetings, attend board of supervisors meetings, or at least send emails to my colleagues, to the planning commission, to all folks, mayor's office of housing, folks responsible for development, to make sure that no project ever leaves their mind, so that it has to be done. Look, you talked about Candlestick earlier, and this is probably the only area since I've been in office where there were a lot of promises made, where things were going to um, be developed and look a certain way, and we haven't even broken ground yet. And there are several reasons why that has happened, but most certainly stand stand involved in pushing me and my colleagues to address the things that have been promised is key and important. And the ways to do that are coming to meetings, sending emails, showing up, and putting the pressure on. Because as I fight for all of you when I'm in those rooms, most certainly when people see you show up as well, that is beneficial for all of us, because they know and understand that I'm not just carrying a message for Shammon Walton, but I'm carrying a message for the folks in Bayview and for the folks right here in District 10.
Right.